The United Kingdom is banning the use of single-use plastic items, including plates and cutlery. While it is a good step towards a greener future and less pollution, the decision has, however, left many worried. Takeaway restaurants, fast food vendors are apprehensive about the impact that it will have on their businesses. While some vendors say that wooden forks are not strong enough for the food that they serve and that it is hard to source starch-based alternatives, others are happy about the change.
In our case, we use the plastic forks because we serve steak, and a wooden fork is just too blunt for the steak. We use cardboard boxes, but they've got forever chemicals in them, similar to Teflon, so if plastic works, we keep using it, and we encourage recycling.
Absolutely none. We only use biodegradable packaging, always have done. So we've seen the cost of it come down because as more and more people have used it, it's dropped slightly. Obviously not during the pandemic when prices went up a huge amount, but the more people who are using it, then it becomes the norm and the price comes down. So good for the environment, good for us.
Meanwhile, Londoners have welcomed the government's plan to ban plastic. The decision follows a public consultation by the government in which 95% of the respondents were in favour of the bans.
I think the idea is a decent one. I usually prefer to recycle things, so if you can use something multiple times and it's better quality than plastic, why not do that?
Plastic cutlery, of which we use 2.7 billion pieces a year, and it includes polystyrene cups and polystyrene containers. So a whole range of what we would call very commonly littered items, which are basically problematic.
The government says the move will help to protect the environment for future generations. UK Environment Secretary says that single-use plastic bans will continue to protect the environment for future generations. The new legislation will also cover single-use trays and certain types of cups and food containers. The plastic ban will come into force in October. The ministry says repeated breaches of the ban could end up constituting a criminal offence, with offenders running the risk of a fine. Now, the Environment Ministry said that England uses around 2.7 billion items of single-use cutlery per year, mostly plastic, with only 1 in 10 items recycled.
Enjoy. Serviettes there if you wish, yeah? Lovely, thank you.
Now, for more on this, we're being joined by our correspondent, Alex Isaac from London. Hello to you, Alex. Now, how are people reacting to the plastic ban, which will be implemented from October? Are people welcoming it, or are they worried about it?
Well, I'm speaking to these food vendors here, and they already said that they have changed away from single-use plastics for the last couple of years. In fact, they're using biodegradable products and they're using recycled products as well. And they did tell me that they had to put up some of their prices to use some of these different materials, but actually, since there has been a rise in food prices anyway, it wouldn't have been much different to the local consumer. Most people are really happy that the country is moving away from single-use plastics. They don't really have a use for them. They tell me that other types of cutlery and products, they wouldn't even notice the difference. So I think a lot of people are really happy that this is something that's going to be moving forward, and they probably won't see much of a change come October for a lot of places, especially here in London, which has a lot of food vendors and also stores, takeaways as well. But people do say that they actually do want government to do more about plastics. But it's not just about those single-use items in takeaways and food stores. It's also about making sure that supermarkets and other big shops stop using plastics as well. And that's the way to move forward. A lot of people are frustrated about how slowly this is all moving, and that the climate and the environment should be top of the agenda, as we, as the UK, have kept promising since COP26.
Absolutely, Alex. And how will this ban be imposed and managed and implemented? And for those who don't comply, what are the consequences?
What we understand is that there will be a fine structure in place for those who are found to be using single-use plastics, but it'll be coming from the manufacturers. The manufacturers themselves shouldn't be making them anymore, so that will be where the government will be trying to implement those strict changes so that they can't be passed down to food vendors and to takeaway restaurants. Of course, there's going to be huge loads of stock that are still going to be out there, and there's going to be a lot of concern and confrontations about what's going to happen to that plastic. Will it be recycled? Is it even recyclable? So there are still going to be some amendments to figure out exactly what laws can be taken and how the country can deal with the plastics that are left over and how to fight those that are still trying to push forward single-use plastics. I do feel like from the people that I've spoken to that they're already looking to change. So I don't feel that there's going to be a huge majority that just want to try and rock the ban for the sake of it. But if there is a lot of stock left out around, then maybe that will be cheaper. So people may be likely to choose those single-use plastics. But it doesn't seem that there seems to be much consensus to actually use them in the first place. But of course, that's people just talking to me on the street. So we're going to wait and see when it actually happens in October.
Absolutely. Alex, thank you very much for bringing us all the latest details. WION, now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.